Foresight Institute has existed for over 30 years, almost 40 years at this point, and we've always had a pretty big eye on supporting research and technology that is still a little bit too niche, too ambitious, too transdisciplinary for legacy founders to support. And so we've been focusing on a variety of different areas. They're not all longevity related, but definitely biotech and health extension is the main one that we focus on. And the way that we support them is usually via different ways. I'll just show you through what we do with the longevity track. And so we have a virtual seminar program that's consists of about really like 200, 250 experts that are in a Google group. Many of you guys are in that group, so I'm preaching to the choir. That meet, like on a monthly basis to just stay up to date on what's happening really at in the ecosystem. How can you invest better? How can you, what's happening in the forefront of science and tech? And that kind of grew out of COVID, but now that virtual group is still going pretty strong. We've also, now that we can finally be back in person again, added the things that, many of us like the most, which are, like really in-person conferences. So we have an annual member kind of like conference where top people in the group get together and are really trying to hash out individual areas for progress in these fields. And so the Longevity Prize was a soft launch at one of these workshops, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I also want to notice just that, if you are interested in just being supported as a fellow in any of the areas that we mentioned, but especially the longevity area, we have a really wonderful fellowship. The 2023 nominations are just open, so you can start applying right now. It has a very strong biotech and longevity focus. I'm just scrolling through a few of the mentors, but safe to say that that fellowship is rather a supportive program, so it has very little pre-commitment from you guys. But it is really there for us to work hand in hand so that we can support your work better. So those applications are also open. But let me get to the core point, which is what I'm here today. So one of the bits that we're extremely excited about recently that came about is the Longevity Prize. And so we launched it now, I think, last week. And so, it's a very, very fresh project. And I'm telling you this now to invite you to contribute. In a nutshell, VitaDAO, which is a longevity DAO, looks like this, went on Gitcoin, which is a crypto funding mechanism. And I got a bunch of really wonderful folks and a lot of community members to support the founding and the funding of a prize. And so they then reached out to a few partners that they felt strongly aligned with to actually start this prize. And I think that's like gives away the really nice kind of like ethos of this prize, which is really that rather than having one large prize at the end of a very, very long road that you may or may not get, this is more an ecosystem builder where we're going to have a variety of like pretty experimental new prizes that I hope you help us shape and that we can then eventually launch out and that many other people can actually also support to really make a difference. And so the first one that we hashed out is this one. And so it's the Hypothesis Prize. It is 20K. And so it's basically, you can win up to 20K. And we have a little bit of a staggering here as well, so that people that, that propose bids that don't make it through also get some funding. But you can win up to that prize for giving us a hypothesis of just what is the number one undervalued field right now in longevity that we should focus on. Our idea is that, look, even our main prize pool of 250K won't get us very far with one individual project. So instead we said, why don't we just stagger it out and first ask for hypotheses for undervalued areas? And they then give us a hunch on what we should set larger prizes on. And so that's the first one. That's live now. We already received a bunch of really wonderful proposals. Don't spend too much on it, I would say. We really are asking for ideas. This is more an idea generator. The idea is that over time, we can actually perhaps publish a few of these hypotheses too. So even if your hypothesis doesn't win, we can still have other folks potentially taking it on and sponsoring that one. So that's in a nutshell, but that's only one of many. We have a really wonderful jury that joined us, and many of them were there at our kickoff event last week. And, we're just currently trying to flesh out with the jury and hopefully with many of you guys in the back end of what could it mean to give more prizes, right? What are other great prize contents and also prize mechanisms? One that was proposed is a biomarker prize. And I know that you've heard a lot of them about that from Brian just before this. And, we are trying to really come up with perhaps a better way of even cross-comparing across different biomarkers, and or maybe building like very easy usable interfaces so that other folks can really start standardizing a bunch of that stuff. And I know that, we're not the first one to think about this, but one thing that this price mechanism is also supposed to pick out is getting other folks interested in the field, right? There's a bunch of people in computer science that I think could really contribute to a lot of the way that we use data in that field. And so, we're trying to broaden up the horizon there a little bit. Yeah, so that's just two of them. So the hypothesis price is live, and then we have another one that is currently up and running. And if I find it, I could even show you. Okay, here it is. In the spirit of making this is extremely collaborative, we launched a Google Doc. And yes, it is a Google Doc. And I think that should tell you a little bit about like how much we actually want buy-in from the entire community. And so I'm happy to share this here with anyone who's interested. I think we even link from the Twitter page of the Longevity Prize. And the idea is that we're really collecting a bunch of different prize proposals. So what could be really cool ways to put some money on? Like, what are different things that people always wanted to try? We have a lot of different prize proposals here. And yeah, people are just contributing to the document. And, we invite you all to do the same. The hope really is that we grow an ecosystem slowly and gradually where different people can propose different prizes. We list them on the website. Other folks can donate money to specific ones, and our jury members can vote on individual prizes. We want to expand the jury targeted to different areas. And so there's a bunch of really interesting ways, I think, that anyone really can collaborate. So if you're a potential funder, maybe you check that kind of like menu of prize options eventually and are like, this is the thing I want to support. If there's nothing on the menu yet, but you just want to make a specific thing seen, then feel free to use that platform. Just tell us what you'd like to fund. We list that thing and other people can propose proposals for that. If you're like someone who has a really great hypothesis that you want to see happen, then feel free to just write that down on the document. And if it gets picked up, that is the thing that then gets funded. We want to then use those folks that propose these prizes also to hop onto the jury board of that prize. So there's a ton of different ways to collaborate. We're very, very early stage, but we've already, over time, like since the incubation of this, there's already been a bunch of people coming out of the woodwork that were like, yeah, we always want to do something kind of like that. So rather than, I think, launching kind of like a lot of different prizes on a lot of different platforms, this one is a little bit of an idea, at least, to also create a platform for different people to launch individual prizes in areas that they really care about. And so, the space for collaboration is definitely open. I really want to thank VitaDAO for looping us into this project, the Methuselah Foundation for donating $50,000 for the biomarker prize, and Lifespan.io for coming on as well as a partner. And we are really happy that we already grew to a few organizations now at this point, and we invite you to kind of step up and propose things. I think it's really an attempt from us to kind of lift the playing field and let a bunch of different ideas rise to the top. And so I think that there's a way for anyone to contribute if you'd like. I think this is currently our longevity project that I'm extremely excited about for us and Foresight, and I'm going to hand it over to Erin. It's also an opportunity to make progress, or to at least stake prizes on a bunch of different areas that we care a lot about. And those areas we're currently mapping out with technology trees. And so for us, the prize mechanism is really a way to focus on progress in individual areas. If you want to learn more, anything about the prize, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Allison Duettmann, or to tweet to the Longevity Prize, which is also on Twitter, or just to frankly shoot us an email. The email addresses are listed on the page. But yeah, would love to hand it over to Erin to tell you about tech trees and how the prize fits into kind of our macro strategy at Foresight.
So this tech tree project is basically just trying to map out the whole longevity scene. This is a prototype still. It's getting there. It's a bit complex, but but we are getting there. We're trying to list out companies and labs and technologies. And so I'll just cover one example node. Sorry, I should back up a second and just say that this is the superstructure of how this works is trying to figure out, where are we right now today with longevity technology? and then where are we trying to go, and then how do we get from where we are to where we want to go. We want to map out like the dreams and the progress avenues that people are pursuing throughout the field, and this is one way of doing it, and so far it's been pretty effective. I like this particular node as an example because it's one of the more well-developed ones for brain tissue replacement by Jean Hebert. So we have a very specific set of ideas that leads a progression that leads one thing, goes to the next thing, goes to the next thing. The blue pieces are just core ideas and technologies. The purple pieces are diagnostic tools associated with every step. Yellow things are pathologies, general pathologies that his technology could have applications towards. And then the green thing is the aging, the big goal, the sort of moonshot goal. But for many of these technologies and many of the things that people are working on, there's all sorts of tangential value that they might not realize exists. It's like, hey, if you only get halfway there, you can still solve things like maybe epilepsy or stroke or something like that. Maybe your technology has applications for things that you didn't realize were possible, and that becomes sources of funding that were unknown to you. So this is going to be a highly collaborative effort. We've already got input from a whole bunch of scientists already, and as well as a bunch of PhD students and other people. We're working with several different organizations that have taken interest into this. So Longevity Prize can get integrated into this tree by potentially placing like bounties in different sections, like on maybe an idea that someone had to make a breakthrough in a field, and you just start pouring effort and I guess money on top of that and say, hey, if you solve this, then we can help out. So there's a way to integrate bounties into the system. There's also, I just had a conversation yesterday with Motion Hall. They're an intellectual property tracking company, and they were interested in the nature of this and how maybe they can use their information and integrate it into this tree and figure out the network of intellectual property ownership. So if you have a company and you want to know, like, you're starting out at a certain position and you want to try to get to a cure or something, you want to know what IP you would need to own in order to get there from a company standpoint. And that's a very complicated network sometimes. And you need to kind of like map out, like, is there a blockade? Finally, we have as well MapsDAO. So there's some people who want to do Web3 integration with this, and that's pretty cool as well. It seems feasible. So we've got Trent McConaughey from, I believe he's from Ocean Protocol, as well as some other really cool Web3 developers who want to see if they can integrate a Web3 layer into this whole system. So with that, it's coming along pretty well, and I think that's about it for me. If I want to hand it back to Allison to wrap it up.
Even for the tech tree, we invite contributions. Ultimately, I think it's all more about ecosystem development. For us, it came about from an effort that, since we've been doing the seminar groups, we've received a lot of emails from folks outside of the areas that really wanted to support longevity, but it's really difficult from outside of the area to actually see how you plug in to kind of like relate the different fields to each other and how they stand in relation to each other. And so at the end of the day, we thought, well, we can always point people to individual directions and we can write large reports about this, but maybe an easier way is to just literally create a tech tree, map it out, and point people to specific bits when they want to contribute talent or funds and say, hey, you can work over this area here that's downstream from this individual bit. And so that's kind of like the idea of this tech tree, is really just to make it easier for other folks, even outside of your area or entirely outside of longevity, to understand what you're working on and to be able to better plug in and help ultimately most of you guys really. And so, yeah, if you're interested in contributing to this, the space for collaboration is definitely open. That's it for me. Thanks a lot for having us. It's been a really wonderful conference so far, and yeah, very happy to be here.